Did this just happen? Did Jack just either Jack has to kill Ashi and kills Aku, or he's going to die, or another option is that there is another season. It's really the only thing I could see being settled in next week's episode, because with Aku finally grasping the sword, the only weapon, the means to kill him, that means basically all hope is lost. How can you kill Aku if you don't have your weapon anymore? He has that. And the scary thing is that next week is the final episode. And from what we know, this is the final season, unless another season is announced. But from what we're aware of at this moment, next week is the finale of Samurai Jack to conclude the series. So basically, what this means is that next week's episode is supposed to wrap up Samurai Jack, be the end. You know, answer the questions we need. For instance, conclude the stuff with whatever's going on with the Scotsman, to others throughout this series, to, you know, Ashi and Aku. What path is Jack going to take? Is he going to be able to go to the past, or is he going to be stuck in this timeline? There's so many questions we have, and because of that, I'm just wondering, what is the ending going to be like? Because with the ending of this episode, the only thing you can really grasp from this is tragedy. Samurai Jack is probably going to have a very bittersweet ending that is going to be tragic. I mean, that's the only thing I could see at this moment, because of the sword being lost. And just, holy hell, just finding out that Ashi is legit the real daughter of Aku. Like, it wasn't just a title. It wasn't just something said. Aku is legit, you know, Ashi's father. And it should have been to be expected. Like, we should have seen that coming. But still, just the way it was done and how last week's episode was used as setup for this, and Ashi becoming Jack's, like, final enemy, his final boss to overcome, that is truly insane. Because Jack has fallen in love, okay? And once again, the person he's fallen in love with is basically Aku. And to make matters worse is Ashi's not your typical enemy. She's not, you know, a robot. She's not someone that has been brainwashed and, you know, is a, you know, a human being brainwashed to fight you. It's much more than that now. It's much more personal, because Jack has grown closer to her. He has feelings for her. And because of that, him striking her down would be hurtful to him. And that is why he gave up his sword, while he just dropped his sword, because he lost his will to fight. He could not fight Ashi. He could not kill her. And let's just go on a line here and say that Jack doesn't get killed, okay? Let's just say Aku decides not to kill Jack, because he's like, you know what? I got my conclusion. Got the sword. Jack doesn't get the girl. And on top of that, he gets to suffer. I could see Aku doing something like that. And the way it's looking, the only way this series can end is in tragedy. I mean, we have the whole plot point with the Scotsman right now, how he's building an army, and that's a possibility. He can pop up in next week's episode. But with everything we know from this episode and all that, I just don't think it's going to end on a happy note. It's definitely going to have some form of sadness to it, regardless of either way, whatever direction, you know, the series takes, because next week is the finale. So, oh my god, like, I hope I wasn't the only one that their eyes just opened up wide when they saw Aku have the sword in his hand, and he starts laughing and all that, and then you just see it pan down to Jack, and he just looks all depressed. That just the way his body was, the way it was drawn and depicted, you just knew that he lost all hope at that moment. And that really says something right there, because the entirety of this season has been Jack trying to gain back that hope, finally rekindle what he lost, and now automatically, when he finally has this back, it's gone. He loses it. That is really depressing. Very dark. And I'm just like at a point right now, I'm like, holy crap, how is this going to end? I mean, in all honesty, the way it's looking right now, it's gonna need another season. It is. I mean, if the path goes down that way of tragedy, I could definitely see Ashi dying. Maybe. Or maybe the plot is extended because, she's taken away and Jack has to save her. He doesn't want to give up on her, and so he tries to save her. I could see something like that happening. Regardless, though, let's talk about Ashi and her connection to Aku, okay? So, it makes so much more sense now how Ashi was able to fight an army off, how she was able to do this incredible stuff, and all her other sisters as well, when it came to these feats that they were doing in the earlier episodes. It makes so much more sense now, because they are the real offspring to Aku. They have an Aku inside of them, so they're like half human, half Aku. And so it's understandable why they would be able to, perform some feats that are ridiculous and crazy. I mean, for Ashi to be able to fight an entire army, that's kind of stretching it a little bit. And you're like, whoa, how's she able to do this? But now seeing this episode, you're like, it makes so much more sense now. And it doesn't just stop there, though. The way they are now basically Aku, that really shows, like, Aku controls them. He has them, and there's nothing they really can do about it. For instance, Jack can't really help out Ashi in the first place, because technically, Aku is them. They have a part of Aku inside of them, so you probably cannot remove Aku without killing them. So, that is very bad. It's very bad, and I'm like, I feel bad for Jack, and the final boss not being Aku, but being Ashi in general, that's, whoa. Whoa, that's a great way to kind of have this, like, ultimate decision for Jack for the final episode of the series. Does he kill Ashi, or does he allow himself to die and give up hope? That is the question I have right now, and it can lead to a very interesting choice, depending on where the writer wants to take it. Regardless, though, I do want to talk about the comedy aspects of this, episode of Samurai Jack Season 5, and I have to admit, I think the way it was done, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but you remember how many of us, myself included, I admit, myself included, were saying, like, we would want a daughter slash, father relationship between Jack and Ashi. That's what we were kind of wanting when it came to the relationship in the first place. But then we saw last week's episode, and obviously it turned into more of a romance. So I'm personally fine with it. I mean, I wanted, a father-daughter relationship, but I'll live with it. There's nothing to do about it, and it's fine with me. But many got upset with it. Well, I feel like, like I said, I don't think it was intentional, but Aku being her father, and the way it went about in this episode with the comedy and stuff, I felt like it was like a nudge towards the people that'd be salty with last week's episode, and Aku's like, I'm the father and all that. And then the writer's like, hey, you wanted a father-daughter relationship? Here you go. And Aku basically acting like he was. He's like, oh, you try to raise them right, and then they go off and fall in love with your mortal enemy. That's just like, yo, Aku, oh my god, like, what the hell? Like, the lines Aku said was just so messed up. And then when he was recalling the events of how it's even possible for Ashi to be there in the first place, I'm like, really? Like, that's the explanation? Now, most likely the explanation was censored. It's kind of obvious that it probably was censored, because obviously they can't show, like, a sex scene on TV. That's common sense. So, it's probably censored, but regardless if it was censored or not, you have to start questioning some things about Aku and, like, what his finger can do. Because, basically, from what he stated is he got summoned there. He basically said, nice statue, and he offered them, like, a gift. He basically left a piece of himself within this cup, okay? And when he left a piece of himself, he used his finger. And then, basically, over time, the actual cult decided to drink what Aku left them, and then she got impregnated. She had children. So, what you can get from this is the fact that the cult, the mother, drinking that glass was basically her drinking semen. The fuck. The fuck. The fuck. That's the explanation. So she drunk Aku's semen. And then she got him pregnant. Like, she got pregnant. Like, what? Wait, what? I don't think it works like that, but... Okay, so that makes me question some things about Aku. So does that mean Aku's, finger might be, a penis? I mean, yeah. Anyways, though, jokes aside and all of that, dirty jokes aside, what a phenomenal and breathtaking, semifinal episode, because next week is, the finale. So, wow, it was a great episode, and I'm excited for the finale, but at the same time, I'm worried, because, something bad's gonna happen. It's common sense. Something bad's gonna happen. I sense a lot of people dying. Obviously, the Scotsman's gonna pop up, but I sense a lot of people dying, and it's definitely gonna happen. And speaking of dying, let's just, if I had alcohol on me right now, I would say I'd pour one out for my boy, the Guardian. I'm pretty sad. I'm really sad that man is dead. I mean, I really love the episode he was in. It was probably one of my personal favorite episodes of Samurai Jack, was the Guardian episode, when we had the whole time portal and how he's like, you're not ready yet. I really love that episode. It's probably one of my personal favorites, besides, the robot sand ninjas. I really love that one, too. I forget what they were exactly called. It's been a long time since I've seen that. But, basically, the Guardian was one of my personal favorites. I love that episode. And seeing the glasses, and then the way the place looked, how it was just destroyed and all that, I'm like, yo, this is sad. It basically confirms he's dead, and it confirms what happened with the portal as well. I mean, we heard from Aku himself that all the portals are basically destroyed. It was the last one he destroyed in that, flashback we got. So, we should have expected the Guardian's portal to be gone, but the Guardian being dead, it makes me sad. And what truly gets to me is the fact that, the glasses just symbolize that he's gone, and I wanted to see him again. Even though he would be a little bit older and all that, I wanted to see him again. I wanted to see the man talk to Jack one more time, but that's obviously not going to happen. The only reason why I think this was done, though, was because the way that entire episode was introduced, it would have caused some plot holes for the series. It's kind of obvious by the way the Jack was shown, this older Jack and all that division going in the past and all of that. The way that was done, in looking at the material we've gotten in Season 5, that entire episode doesn't really make sense. It creates a plot hole in the series when you think about it. And I feel like the way it was handled, it was done in a way because they needed to cover that up. The writer needed to get rid of that entire plot point, because it was definitely holding back some of the visions that Season 5 was taking. So I can understand why that was done, and it was necessary. It definitely needed clarification, because that was one of the big things about the previous seasons of Samurai Jack that made everyone constantly Furycraft and stuff about the series, what's going to happen because of the Guardian. So with that being handled, that's no longer there. That plot point's basically gone, and we can't rely on that anymore. We don't know what's going to happen, so yeah. Damn. So next week, finale. After all of these years, after a decade, we are finally going to have our conclusion. Good or bad does not matter. Regardless of it being tragic, happy, a shit ending, a good ending, regardless of all of whatever it is, Samurai Jack will end next week, unless another season is announced. So, wow. It's really coming to an end. Can you believe that? I remember growing up and then realizing it was kind of canceled, and I was like, am I never going to get to see it? I resigned myself to fate, thinking I would never get to have a conclusion to this series. But here we are, 2017, in May. We are going to get what we wanted.